Hey guys, and welcome to a special kind of video because this one is going to be a little bit different because today I am joined by two very special Paw Patrol YouTubers that you guys know very well. And also, one of our members also decided to join us last minute to talk about all the stuff we've been hearing from the Mighty movie. So let's begin with our introductions first. Parachute Buddy, you go first.
Hi everyone, this is Parachute Buddy. However, you may also recognize my profile picture. I am also YouTube user AnimalPawPony. I apologize I haven't been uploading much, but I'm going to be trying to do that more often. I ran into some issues in real life as well as some videos I was doing, but I'll be getting back to those soon. I mostly do Paw Patrol fan-made theories of my own, as well as branching out into other theories, though depends. I also do reactions to fan-made content, though that might change. And I just try and provide different perspective on like topics or thoughts within the community, but I also try and do my own stuff.
That's really cool. And Meat, you go next.
Alright, I don't think I really need an introduction here, but I am Da3picMeat. You might have known me from my videos, but I mostly cover analytical stuff and topics on the show. But, yeah. I didn't really prepare for an intro.
It's all right. That's fine.
No,
And
no,
Nebula, you go next.
yes, for all who recognise my voice, I am Nebula5. Very happy to be joining three Paw Patrol fans to discuss what it is we're discussing today. And again, I didn't have an intro either. Wasn't anticipating that.
It's all right. That's fine. This is kind of the thing that I came up with also not too long ago. So, as for you guys, I think I also don't need much of an introduction. You guys know me, Andrew Gamer GL, guy who sometimes posts Paw Patrol news but hasn't really been active that much lately. But anyway, that's enough of our introductions. We can start off now on the first topic, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, the first topic we are going to be discussing is the constant leaks situation that have been surrounding the Mighty movie for like the past few months. So, for you guys that have no clue what's been going on and haven't been paying attention to the videos, is that since like 3 months ago, we've gotten like 3 separate major leaks that are linked towards either what the Mighty movie's plot is going to have or the designs of the pups and how their powers look like and what they possibly might be. And they've really been going out of control because literally just 3 days ago we got another one which not only leaked quite a bit of Paw Patrol stuff, but it also leaked some future things for other Nickelodeon shows too. So I have no idea what's been going on with Spin Master's press release or copyright team, but I think there has to be some sort of miscommunication because this really doesn't make a lot of sense. Parachute Buddy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree because I mean, the thing is, a lot of times people, especially fans, will think that some random fan is finding this stuff and leaking it, but the only way to do that is either hacking into their system or finding it through some other website means or whatever, or just like finding it by accident. It's like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, and then they post it and everything. And I mean, Spin Master, like with the copyrights and everything, requesting to take everything down, that's totally within their right, given the fact of the movies and everything. But yeah, I agree. It's got to be either someone in the company doing the leaks or a miscommunication. Because if it's stuff that fans can't actually have access to or find, like, you know, randomly or whatever, like it's something difficult to find, I don't see how a fan could like leak it unless they actually found it themselves, even by accident. But given how tight Spin Master and Nickelodeon and other companies associated with them, try and keep this stuff tight, I find it hard to believe that it's just fans randomly posting stuff all the time unless this was getting leaked from, someone in the company. And given some of the leaks we've gotten so far, especially considering not just the Mighty movie, but also potential stuff for the show too, yeah, not only is this getting attention from the fandom, it's also a little concerning because, and I mean, I'm not going to give out specifics, but I mean, the most recent leak in regards to stuff for the show, I mean, just to give you guys an idea of how big it was basically a scheduled leak in a sense, where there were short summaries almost by month from June of this year to spring of next year. That's a big leak. And again, whether or not it's true or not, what the plans are and, if the leak info is true or not, that's still a big problem.
Yeah, I agree about that. And Da3picMeat, your thoughts?
Well, as for the recent situation, I will give them credit for Paw Patrol's social media specifically for trying to engage these takedowns, and they have been a bit late in handling it, but it's better than doing nothing at all. But these leaks have run rampant, and they need to really beef up their security with all of this movie stuff, because at this point in time, anything can be considered a leak, like the movie models we got a few months ago. And, reality, we if possible, we could see the trailer for this film leak as well. Like, anything can be leaked.
That's true. That is actually one of the things I'm most scared about is what if a month or two before the trailer was even supposed to be out, someone leaks it.
It would prove that fans are impatient, I think.
Yeah, it would also prove that. But yeah, if that happens, then I think they really need to do a much better job at that. Nebula, your thoughts?
Well, most of what I feel about has already been said by Meat and Parachute here, but I think it's, in my eyes, it comes across as just stupid negligence that this has had to happen in the first place, because there's a huge there's a bit of, it's a bit like of a fear going around now that whatever we see, we're unsure, and the four of us here do our best sometimes to cover what new stuff we get out, obviously, but now, and in recent years, we've not had to be too careful because there's not really been any crackdowns on this is the kind of thing we can't see yet. But ever since this stuff with the Mighty movie that's been happening for months now, it's like we have to be so much more careful now in terms of what we post, because we don't know if this is actually something we're allowed to see. Like, fair enough, they're the obvious models, right? The models are clearly not something that the public was meant to see, but the banner that showed all the new information and everything, the merch things that you can find on most websites, and even the magazine things, I think we're within some right to discuss them, because those are the kind of things that are something that we should feel okay to talk about. But the problem is that now we're so uncertain about if we can talk about something or not that we feel limited. At least I feel limited in terms of what we can discuss. And to me, it's just really silly that if this happened once and it was just the models, I would not be that annoyed, and I would obviously be concerned about, what the kind of security they've got if they manage to leak something that important. But it to happen with like it was like a leaflet showing new information for the future projects, the magazine leak that apparently wasn't supposed to be revealed, merch stuff that apparently we aren't allowed to talk about because it's not meant to be seen yet. But it just shows like a huge amount of just clown behavior that the security at these companies has just let this happen. And part of me is obviously still concerned about what we post. Are we allowed to show it? Are we allowed to talk about it?
I mean, going back to 2 years ago when we had the first movie, I mean, there really wasn't when stuff got leaked. There wasn't really much of an issue back then, but ever since
No, exactly.
yeah. And now all of a sudden it's a huge deal. Like with the movie models being leaked now, there's just this constant fear of leaks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing that I remember from the first movie, like, it was not as big as this one as far as leaks go. The only thing I remember is, like, some model that might have been Skye's helicopter design for the movie, but I don't think it was the same design. I think it was changed. It was changed. Though there might have been, like,
Yeah.
similarities a little in the designs, like propellers or what have you. But that's like the only thing that comes to mind. Otherwise, it was pretty tight in regards to like very little leaks.
Oh yeah, no, it was very secure. 2020 was just I mean, the logo being leaked in 2019, I guess makes sense. They seem to be okay with showing the poster kind of logo within a year and a couple months from release. I think they're okay with doing that. But that was the only thing 2019 really brought us, apart from the confirmation a movie was coming out. Going into 2020, obviously, there's not a lot that comes to mind apart from the plot leaking, which was kind of bare bones. It wasn't really that much. The cast leak, and I think also confirmation of some new characters, and that was kind of it. And then 2021 was obviously the big year where most of the stuff happened, and I give credit that the first set of merch leaks for the first movie, they were definitely cracking down on those a lot more. Like, they were definitely being a little bit more strict with people showing them. But I can't remember any time after that, whatever it was. Yeah, I can't remember any time after that, whatever it was, that it was actually a problem. And we've been conditioned to that, to the point where if we see something that we think we're allowed to talk about, are we allowed to talk about it? It's like, should we be allowed to see this? It's
That is a very good point to make. I remember there was a post that I made regarding the merch for the first movie, and the ones who actually were responsible for distributing the merch asked me to take that post down. But I never got a direct message from Paw Patrol itself to take it down. So it was probably a minor miscommunication because Paw Patrol seemed pretty okay with it. But these leaks right now for the second movie, it definitely feels like this is a much bigger deal and a much bigger miscommunication between the brands.
Oh, yeah, that's a given.
I mean, you think about it, some of those merch leaks, they have the text on the, and it says PPM2, which stands for Paw Patrol Movie 2.
Movie 2, yeah.
Yeah, I've always assumed those ones weren't meant to be leaked to the public just yet. Than the other ones.
That's a fair point, and yeah, the watermark, like, obviously, like, you see that it kind of screams, if this was a finished thing, then why would they have the watermark in it? And I give credit that they obviously were trying to be, careful with things. Like, they were obviously not just sending out a bunch of stuff to just get us overhyped and everything. But one of the problems I had with it is that the one in question that showed all like the merch things for the Mighty movie, like the actual merch stuff, like the images that showed off all the new gear and everything, a couple of posters that showed off stuff as well. That had the watermarks, but I never really seen that as much of a problem if it was shared, because that's like, even if it had it, I'm not sure if it was. I didn't really consider it too bad if it did get shared around.
Yeah, and like actually, as we're discussing this, I remember that it was in 2021 in April, mid-April or so, around that time, when we were getting image leaks of like what the pups would look like in their outfits and everything, like merch-wise. Like I remember seeing like a backpack image for the first movie. But it's weird because like they didn't request that being taken down, and then within like a couple or so weeks after that, like you'd see more of that image or like similar designs and everything. But given the fact that they were planning at that point to release the trailer in May, which of course didn't happen till June 4th of that year, I think because it was so close to when they were going to release the trailer, they allowed it because they knew it was going to get like fans hyped and everything. Plus, at that point in time, I mean, there was almost no reason to hide it, given that, oh, we're going to see the trailer soon. We're going to see what they look like. So, an early, visual representation of what the pups and the gear look like didn't seem like much of a problem. But then again, I could be wrong. However, with the leaks for this, even though you could make the same argument, well, we don't know when the trailer is going to be released. Number one. Number two, the designs could always change. So it could always be, if they're doing last minute edits and whatnot, it could be, oh, we think it's going to be this design for Zuma or Marshall or Skye or whatever. But then they could change things up a little. And then the design, although it could be similar, could also be a bit different. And so it's not like the finished product in a sense. It's more, we're just showing this for merch, but there could also be differences in the designs of like the pup packs or the outfits or what have you. And, like you guys have said, given all the leaks we've had, I mean, this has just gone a little insane. And so it's understandable why they wouldn't want this stuff out so early as it has been, but even by accident.
Yeah.
That part. And I also just want to tell you, if we are judging by that recent leaked document we got, we do supposedly apparently know when the trailer's gonna come out. But of course, we're not going to say that because I don't think that was ever meant to be shown to us. So we're just not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's no way that the document in question that looks like something, it looks like something from an email chain. I'm just gonna say it. There's no way that is something meant for the public eye. That I can understand. If it's pretty clear that it's not meant for the public eye, then yes, we will be careful enough not to say anything more about it. But it's like feeling limited here.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, now we can move on to the next topic, which is, this is something that was already announced quite a little while ago, and I think Nebula, both you and Meat have already discussed this a bit on your channels, and that is our thoughts on the actors for the Mighty movie. Now, I don't know too much of this cast that has been revealed. I only know a handful of actors and actresses that were chosen for this. So, Meat, I want to start with you for this one on what are your thoughts for the actors in the Mighty movie.
Alrighty then. So, in my opinion, this is all around a better and more respectable cast list for the sequel this time around compared to the first movie, excluding Kim Kardashian, because let's be real, did anybody want her back for the sequel?
No.
Exactly.
Not really.
But despite that, they've got some good talent around for the sequel, because we got actors like Kristen Bell, she voiced Princess Anna in Frozen, James Marsden. He was in the X-Men films and the
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, that one. Donut Lord.
Yes.
Also he was what was it? His Trailblazer MLP. No, Andrew, I think you know that one too.
Yeah, G5.
Mm-hmm. And then
Yeah.
McKenna Gray. She was in the Spirits Untamed. Well, that Spirit, the animated film a couple years
It was
back.
Spirit Untamed.
Mm-hmm. And then Taraji Henson, who has done work for anime movies, like she was Bell Bottom in Minions Rise of Gru. I think she did pretty well as that.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to see some of the actors from the first movie return, like Marsai Martin. That is a huge plus. There's no one else that can portray Liberty better than Marsai.
Yeah, like you can't. It would to me it would be a crime if they didn't manage to bring Marcy Martin back, only because no one else is gonna ever be able to replicate "You talk a lot of trash for a dog that looks like a toilet brush." No one is ever gonna be able to say it like her, and I would disagree if she was getting replaced, like as a voice actor. I mean, because no one else can do it like her.
I thought her Suri's voice was nah.
It was it wasn't. It didn't fit.
Did it match Liberty's personality?
Mm-mm.
I guess.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
All right, I'm gonna continue here. So, also you have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you can go ahead first, Meat.
Alrighty then. So you've also got series actors returning as well. There's Lexton Handspiker, the most interesting one, because he was not only the original voice of Rex in Dino Rescue, but he's the current voice for Rubble and the Rubble and Crew spinoff. Well, and then Nyland Parthipin, who voiced Al in Big Truck Pups. And this is an interesting one, because the only pup I could see voicing him is Zuma. But just hearing him voice Al and line it up with Zuma, I can't envision it. There's also Chase up for grabs as well, but I don't know. I just can't see Nyland voicing either one of those two characters.
It was kind of a weird pick to choose him for voicing in this movie, because I think they very easily could have just chosen his current series actor, and that would have been a pretty good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think this is a valid reason, and to be fair, I think one of the reasons why most of the series voice actors didn't, well, not most, but like some of the series voice actors won't necessarily return to do the theatrical movie stuff, is because I think it's contracts. Like I think it's like they may either not have the time for it, or I'm pretty sure because they're young, they're quite young actors, obviously. So I think they can't sign a contract for themselves. I'm pretty sure they have to have parental or guardian permission for it. And it could be a case where sometimes their parents or guardians might not be too keen for them to be in a theatrical thing. That's the only way I really seen it, and someone mentions that could be what it is, but it might not be. Who knows?
I also wanted to bring up another one here. I forgot what I was going to say here. Skye's voice actor, because we know that Lily Bartlam, who voiced her in the series, and it has been the current voice in season 6, is not in this cast list here. And there's been a lot of assumption that McKenna Grace is going to voice her. Not confirmed yet, but it's likely.
Yeah, I mean, if we look aside from the whole, even if we look away from the fact that McKenna Grace has a voice that could fit her, like she's young enough and she has a voice that does fit, I think it's not a confirmed hint, but to me it was a hint to me that when she posted an image on her Instagram story, it was a picture of the Skye plush, and whether that's just a general hint to Skye's main role in the Mini movie, ever since we've seen that, I've always seen it as, oh, she can't say, but she's hinting that she's going to be voicing Skye.
I think it's also worth noting that Bartlam was in the first film too, and she's not coming back.
Yeah,
that is a pretty interesting choice. But I heard from quite a few people from the Fanatic server that they think McKenna Grace would probably be a very good replacement for Skye for Lily Bartlam. So I don't think there's going to be too much issues in that regard.
I mean, her voice is a little deep for it, but this was the same thing with Will Brisman, because I remember watching an interview of him back in 2020 when he was announced to be in the movie. He sounded a bit deep, and if you were to ask back then if he were to voice Ryder, I don't think many would agree.
No, I
I
don't think
think
so. But I think at the end of the day, sorry, I think at the end of the day, I think he still was able to portray Ryder quite well, and for obvious reasons that he isn't able to return for the Mighty movie because I think his voice has just got too deep now to the point where he can't voice him, so they've had to bring in someone I've never even heard of before.
yeah.
Yeah, that was like Finley Ep, I believe.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure this is his first theatrical movie role, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Who is? Sorry.
Finley Ep, the new voice actor.
Yeah.
Ryder.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
Hope
also
he does a good job.
And yeah, I hope so too. And
Yeah,
another thing I wanted to point out is that yes, there could be some actors that might not sound like they are perfect for the role, but we also don't know if they might actually have it in them to be able to change their voice for a little while, and they actually end up sounding like completely different people in the movie. So
I mean,
that's why I think we might have to wait for a trailer before we can get our full grasp on how they sound like within their characters.
I agree with that. It's an important point as well that the voice acting is a unique business because you can sound the way you are for a character, right? But if you look at someone like Tara Strong, right? She does all those different characters, and she changes her voices for most of them. You can tell it's still her, but she changes her voice just ever so slightly to the point where you can distinguish between all these different characters, and that's what I'm hoping that when it does come to these voice actors for the Mighty movie, that they just don't sound stale. And I do have a somewhat feeling that Taraji's character, who is presumably going to be Victoria Vance, it's kind of like soft confirmed that it's Victoria Vance, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling she is going to actually sound quite similar to how she sounds in Minions Rise of Gru. That sort of kind of diva, evil attitude, pretty much. Ending with a little bit of a mad scientist, obviously.
I think she might have to change her impression because she was voicing. It was no, never mind. I lost my train of thought.
I think I knew what you were going to say, but yeah.
So, Parachute Buddy, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, everything you guys have said so far, I think are valid points. And some of the thoughts that I have are that I agree. We need to see the trailer or some kind of audio for the characters to see what they're going to sound like. But at the same time, I mean, like when you think about other voice actors, like Nebula brought up Tara Strong, I mean, she's voiced so many characters with different ranges and everything. And I mean, of course, you have, like Timmy Turner, for example, so you have this boy character that's voiced by a girl. And same thing with the original Ash Ketchum with Veronica Taylor. It obviously depends on the ranges of the voices and what they can do and everything. But one thing, and again, there's no way to confirm or deny this, but one of the things that I think was such a big plus with the first movie is how the voice actors, whether they were older or younger, had some understanding of what the characters should have sounded like, so they had a reference to go off of, so they knew, okay, this is what they normally would sound like, or at least it's like within the range of what fans know their voices as. So how can I use that reference and then change my voice so even though it's a bit different, it still sounds like the characters? So for example, the actors who did Ryder and Chase in the first movie, obviously, throughout the series, the voices change per different characters for different voice actors and everything. And even though there can be noticeable changes, for example, like with Zuma and Marshall's voice actors, in different seasons, one thing that I've noticed is how I might not like the way the voice sounds in the beginning of a season, but that doesn't mean that it can't be altered or done in a way where later on in the series it does get better and it does sound like the characters. But going back to the first movie voice actors, because they said that they either had kids or siblings who were familiar with the show, obviously they had had some of the voices from the show to go off as a reference, so they understood not only the reputation of the show but also what the characters would sound like and their personalities and other stuff like that. And I mean, especially for actors like Chase's voice actor, who of course plays Sheldon in Young Sheldon. I mean, he has done some stuff like Young Sheldon, but not a lot. So for him to be a fan of the show and to be able to understand like Chase as a character and understand to some degree his voice range, that was a huge, huge plus. Because I mean, yes, some fans would either think, oh, that was great, or oh, it could have been a little better or whatever. I mean, I still think he was a really good Chase for what he had to work with. And I'm curious if for these voice actors that we're going to get in the Mighty movie, if they're going to apply the same principle, or if they're only going to get a little bit of a reference and then just like try and do their own thing.
Yeah, that is very good points that you're bringing up. And I agree also with a lot of what you said. And I do hope these actors can deliver on these characters and not sound too different from what they're supposed to. So now we're going on to our next topic, which is our thoughts on the last phrase of the plot, which is that even the smallest pup can make the biggest difference. And Nebula, I'm going to start with you for this one on your thoughts.
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, back in 2022, me and Meat had obviously made a video discussing what this possibly meant in the grand scheme of things in terms of what would probably end up being Skye's backstory. It's a very small phrase with not a lot of stuff in it that we can actually take from to expand upon and, well, really figure out just what this story is going to be. I mean, it's fairly obvious that she's going to have some literal and metaphorically big things to deal with, but that's not really much to go on. The first movie's driving point obviously was one pup will have to face his past in Adventure City, which to me was a huge deal because it had a reason, for his story to make sense there. But for Skye, this phrase doesn't make that much sense, and what I'm wondering is what exactly is going to trigger her nerves and lack of confidence, for the simple reason that it can't be because they're in Adventure City, because if it was, then why was she not reacting at all when they went? And if it was... This is what I'm just saying, like, there's no real way to pinpoint a really solid reason for just what her story could be just based on this line. To me, it's just kind of, I get it. This was obviously revealed back in this would have been 2021, now that I think about it. Almost 2 years ago. Fair enough, it couldn't be too expansive, but it comes across as not much for us to go on. And I am obviously a bit concerned as to how they're going to make this into an interesting story. How do you expand on the smallest pup can make the biggest difference? Like, how do you make that into an interesting story that's actually going to work?
I agree with that. I do hope that the path that they take when it goes with this storyline, that it does not really interfere or contradict too much of what we got in the first movie, because apparently the first movie is, we know, 100% canon to what's going to happen in the events of the second movie.
Mm.
So, Meat, now your thoughts.
Alright, so I think for this, I think fans were expecting a bit more with this theme for Skye, and it comes from the fact that we go from Chase overcoming his fears and nightmares of Adventure City, which, on paper, it seems like it's a better theme than what we have here for Skye, but also, okay, maybe I'm being a bit nitpicky here, but Skye's never been that insecure about her size before, not only in the show, but also in the first movie, especially towards the end of the first film with the Cloudcatcher, of course. You wonder, how does she go from that to this in the sequel? We learned that Paw Patrol isn't always consistent with everything. Of course, the latest example being Rebel's family, and it seems this theme in particular is leaning towards the kids and the kids in general rather than the larger audience, which in the first movie with Chase's fears, people could relate to the most. No matter how small you are, you can still make a big difference in the community. That's the message they're trying to empower with Skye into the younger audiences, more or less, than the older fans, which is why some aren't on board with this theme, and overall makes it harder to do backstory on this theme compared to facing your fears. So I hope hopefully they do well with execution with this thing.
That is true, because this definitely sounds like a little bit of a more toned down story than what the first movie was trying to get across. And I did read a phrase from the producer, the lead producer and president of Spin Master, Jennifer Dodge. She did say that this movie would be a little bit more warm-hearted or lighter-hearted than what we got with Chase in the first movie. And that one is making me a little bit concerned, because that sounds like they might have toned down the story, the Skye's backstory on this one compared to Chase's.
I mean, of course, the expectations for this film are kind of high considering how the first movie was.
Yeah.
My opinion, the only thing that I could think of at the moment where this phrase or storyline could make sense is if, when Skye was younger, there were a bunch of bigger dogs or pups that were making fun of her or giving her a hard time, because I think that seems to me the only logical way they can go with this story.
I think you're not wrong. It does sound like that's the sort of idea of what the story can be, and I agree with it. But here's the important thing. And you brought this up not too long ago when I'd made a backstory theory. That they will probably just end up keeping things quite, unfortunately, simple. Like we all hope, as fans, we all hope for learning more about the pups that we've watched for almost 10 years now, right? We always love it when we get to learn more about their stories and just what their fears are and how they overcome it, and we find ourselves sometimes relating to them as well. I find myself relating to Marshall actually quite a lot, unintentionally, just because of the pure fact of wanting to make sure you do your best, even if I might mess up. I want to make sure everything I do is okay. And The problem I see is what Jennifer Doe just said is kind of contradictory to what Cal Bronker's been saying. She's saying that it's going to be like the quote that she obviously said was, it's a heartwarming story, and it's going to be more lighthearted. It kind of that kind of to me contradicts how Cal Bronker said that this movie will be more epic than the first one. It comes across as conflicting statements in terms of, well, okay, who here is technically more correct in terms of what the story's going to be? Is it going to be much more epic, or is it going to just be toned down a bit more? We don't really know, and we won't know until we probably get the first trailer, because that'll give us our first sign.
I think I know.
I think even there are certain points where I think we might not even know fully what that's going to be like until the day the movie comes out.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
Parachute Buddy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying, and I mean okay, it's kind of tricky what my perception is, and I don't know how they're gonna make this work if they were to go in this direction. The only thing I can think of apart from what Gamer suggested is the phrase of Skye having to prove that even the smallest pup can make the biggest difference. The only thing I can think of for Skye, based on the information that we've gotten, including leaks, unfortunately, like the magazine one that we ended up seeing, the only thing that I can think of throughout the entire series is the idea of Skye not so much feeling down on herself in regards to her size. I feel it's more of a leadership role. And let me explain where I'm going with this. Skye obviously has become very mature, if not the most mature of the original 6 pups, dealing with topics or scenarios that obviously might be a bit more tricky for the others to overcome, or making a greater sacrifice for what's important compared to, say, their personal preference. With Skye, the only thing I think we've gotten from the show at times has been her fear of eagles, and even like in the episode where they were guarding Mayor Goodway's tulips, when she had to give up Mr. Squeakums, because that was more of a personal sacrifice. The reason I say a leadership role is because, going back to, say, Jet to the Rescue, for example, her fear of eagles is what toned down her ability of being a leader, because it's not to say that she couldn't be a leader. She was a good leader. It's just that she was letting her fear at times get the better of her, and that would pause her ability to be a leader, because she didn't know how to move forward when her mind and emotions were running so high on her fear of eagles and what it is that she what she was dealing. And this is actually something I'm going to be making a video about myself, as like my own theory of Skye. But the thing is that it's tricky, because I feel like it's not so much a confidence or like self-image kind of thing. It's more, how can I get past something that I feel so afraid of, or I feel is such a big concern, when technically speaking I should be able to get past it, but I can't because of how emotional or mentally afraid I am of this thing. So I feel like this fear or this fear or whatever it is that I'm afraid or concerned about, I feel like it's much bigger than me. And how can I get past that while still being who I am? Granted, obviously it's a different scenario with the Mighty movie, and I don't know, if they were to go in this direction, how they're going to tackle that. If anything, I feel like it was done good in Jet to the Rescue. However, my biggest complaint with Jet to the Rescue is I felt like they had her be inspired by Sweetie, and that's what motivated her to get back into action, compared to her trying to understand why she's so afraid of eagles and getting past that, and that being a motivation for her to get back into action. Now, I'm not saying what Sweetie did was bad by any means. It was phenomenal and absolutely growth for her character. But I feel like Skye needed that moment of self-realization and understanding what her problem is, why it's a problem, and getting past that, even if she had help from the others, through Sweetie, Everest Tracker, Ryder, whoever, in, that TV movie. And obviously you have like runtime and, all the other usual issues. But that's kind of like what I think could be applied here. It's more, how can I be a leader when something that I feel is so much bigger than me, either emotionally or in my head or whatever, how can I get past that while still being true to who I am? And obviously the Mighty movie is going to provide different scenarios, different conflicts, different themes. So it's kind of a toss-up as to what's going to happen, if they're going to go in that direction or not. If they do, how's it going to be dealt with in a respectful way? And like you guys have said, until we see a teaser or something, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah.
Do agree with all of your points there, and I really hope that they can make the most out of this storyline, because I want to say quickly, one of my problems with Mighty Pups is I feel like Skye's development in Jet to the Rescue was slightly better than Chase's in Mighty Pups, because Chase's character development kind of felt a little bit more unrealistic, because he technically didn't even get motivated by anyone doing anything. It was almost kind of like self-motivation. While with Skye, on the other hand, it was Sweetie who doing her deed that ended up motivating her. And I think Skye's one was a bit more realistic in terms of that stance.
Yeah.
So now we're heading over to the next topic, and oh boy, this is a topic that got quite a few people talking around here. And
I think it's controversial, to say the least.
Yeah, controversial to say the least. So it is our thoughts on the unique connection teased between Chase and Skye. I'm gonna start off with my thoughts first on this one. So if anyone who has been watching my channel when it was in its early days and I didn't have 29,000 subscribers like I had now, a lot of you would have probably known that back in the day I was a major Skye fan, or Chase and Skye fan, and I still am a fan to this day, but not as big or overblown like I used to. I think I've calmed myself down regarding that, and learned to just become content with what little moments we've been getting with the pups. And when I heard this news, or this piece of article that came from the magazine, I had to reread this a couple of times or 3 times, because I was like, is this just an early April Fool's joke, or is this actually what they're going to be going through within this movie? And it has caused, over the years regarding shipping, a lot of heated debate, and it has caused, you could say, quite a bit of division in the fandom, and it's been quite a sensitive topic to talk about. So from my side as a Skye fan, I am pretty excited that they are going to be doing this, but also at the same time, I'm kind of worried with how the fandom's gonna react to what's gonna be shown in the movie, because we don't know what kind of moments they're gonna be given. It could just be, the best friends, they care for each other, and they understand each other really well kind of moments. Or it could be something more than that gets an even bigger reaction from the others. So I do have quite a few small concerns when regarding that topic. Meat, you can go now if you want.
Alrighty then. So, as you said, this topic has drawn quite the conversation since it was unveiled, and from what I've personally seen, it's relatively mixed on its connection. Even though it may be Skye's, but we don't know what it is at the moment. Most of the fandom thinks it has to do with shipping and Skye's, and that's where the mixed reactions come in. Some are all for it, and others are really concerned because, like you said, it's shipping. It's a really heated and controversial topic in any fandom, and Paw Patrol is no exception to this. We've seen how shipping characters can get out of hand by taking it too far, or just the shipper specifically, because when I made that vid talking about the connection thing, there was a few comments for wanting Chase and Skye to kiss.
Oh.
I removed those comments. I don't get it. But they aren't going to go that far.
I will say, considering they are still quite a bit young, it is a bit concerning how many likes some of those comments are getting.
Yeah, an important point that here's an important point that people need to know, and I don't see it as a problem if you're shipping characters, right? Like, it happens in pretty much every fandom, so it's not to me a problem if it's going to happen. But what I see the problem with is that if people are just taking it too far. Now, too far for me isn't making artwork that's just like implying something, like even something simple, like, I don't know, chasing Skye in their adult years with like puppies or something like that. That to me isn't even bad, because at the end of the day it looks like just a nice drawing in general. Okay, what to me is too far is people implying that every single little thing means something, if that makes sense. Like, even the smallest, oh, he looked at her for like a second, as an implication of something. That's what gets me. Overthinking something that to me just isn't there.
I mean, they talk. I'm sorry. You want to go?
You can continue.
Okay.
No, you can.
I was gonna say that Dodge stated in that magazine that Chase and Skye's friendship was an integral part of the series for 10 years. Well, it hasn't been that much since season 3. I think Pup's Say Friendship Day was the last real significant moment between the two. But there's also that one scene in the movie where Skye comforts Chase after the monorail incident. And if you were to think back then that it would lead to something like this, a connection, I probably wouldn't agree.
Yeah, and to go on that, by the way, as well, like, you obviously, like, that was something important that she said in that article quote, was that their friendship has played an integral part in the storyline. My question is, has it really? Because the scenes that we've had with them, friendship or what could be extended in some ways, I don't know. To me, it's not been that integral. It's been there, but it's never been important. And even in the scenes where, it's maybe a bit stronger, to me, it kind of comes across as, okay, it's cute and all, but is that even necessary to the episode?
It kind of feels like an afterthought, like they just would have put in there to maybe please some of the fans a little bit and nothing more than that.
Yeah, I guess so. It's I think one of the things is obviously is that you have to be careful with what you say. I understand that. I think she was just struggling to find the right words to describe things, and she couldn't really say much without giving it away. And that's perfectly fine if you're under a contract that basically prevents you from sharing the specifics. But because she is unable to share the specifics, like you've all said, it's caused a bit of a divide. Like it's basically sent a divide through the fandom over just what this unique connection is. And personally, I'm not even too concerned over what it is. It's the only thing that comes to mind for me is somewhat obvious is that they've known each other the longest. And by that stance, if Chase was Ryder's first pup, which is pretty likely, then Skye would have been the second. So the unique connection that they have is the fact that they've known each other for the longest time out of the rest of the pups, and they just understand each other better. That's the only thing I can think of without it going anywhere too far, or just without it going too far. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that is a very good point to make. And Parachute Buddy, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely caused a bit of a divide and back and forth in the fandom and everything. But yeah, because we don't know the specifics of what that special connection could be. I mean, there's so many different things that you could throw at the wall and see if it sticks, so to speak. In regards to that connection, I mean, like obviously, like Nebula said, they could be the oldest pups in the team just because they were the first two that Ryder took as pups on the Paw Patrol. And like I mentioned before, the idea of like a leadership role where, Skye might have an idea of what that's like and how challenging that can be when you have to deal with something that you weren't prepared for, or your emotions and thoughts take over, what you should do when normally you're calm and, you have a level head and you know how to handle a situation. And like, there's two other ones that I actually just thought of as you guys were talking, which is how there are times, especially in the early seasons, like Pup Save a Flying Frog, how Chase was really concerned about like Skye almost flying into the lighthouse and other stuff like that. And I mean, although Skates fans could look at that and interpret it, in a crush kind of way and everything, looking back now, even as a Skates fan, I'm almost seeing it not so much as like a couple kind of thing. I'm seeing it more as he's concerned for Skye's safety because she's such an important pup member of the team. And in a way, it almost kind of fits with what the movie and the Mighty Pup series has set up for Chase, because I almost feel like subconsciously for Chase, with what he went through in Adventure City, it's not just like his fear of overcoming the city and like heights and or feeling like you're visibly small in a big environment. I also feel like because of that, as we saw in the Mighty movie, he has in some ways subconsciously set expectations for himself for what he thinks a leader should be. And given like what he says and does in the Mighty movie, in addition to what happened in the first movie, I mean, that argument would make sense and it totally fits his character, given like the argument that he and Ryder had towards the later middle part of the film. And then, of course, when Ryder was talking to him about, when he found him and adopted him and everything. I mean, all of that fits it fits Chase to a T. And I almost feel like with Skye, it's not just, with that new information, it's not just him being concerned about her safety because she's an important team member and a friend. I think it also even subconsciously for Chase, he might even be thinking it's his job to be a leader and make sure others are safe next to Ryder. And if he can't do that, like, it makes him question, even if he can't do anything and he has no control over, other team members' roles, how can he protect them when he's supposed to be second in command as a leader, even though the task that Skye might be doing is something he can't really participate in and can't guarantee that she's going to be safe. And it's just, they have to go based off of their own experiences and how they do rescues and everything. So it's not just, I want you to be safe because you're a team member and my friend, but also I feel partially responsible, even if I can't do anything to guarantee that safety. That's kind of another side to it that I view the connection from, kind of based on the movie and Mighty Pups and just looking back in general. And another one too, like with the Mighty movie, coming forward off of the first one, is how when they have their conversation on the balcony and she's comforting him in regards to what happens, I mean, there's just a tiny moment where when Chase says how he just froze, you see almost this, oh, kind of look on Skye's face, like this realization. And I'm almost wondering if she ended up going through a similar phase when she was becoming an aerial rescue pup. And so, because she had to overcome that herself, whether on her own or through help or what have you, it's like she's recognizing a part of herself in Chase, and she's thinking, it's not just me saving my friend and teammate. I'm saving someone who's going through what I went through. And then because of that, not only does she have to give him advice to obviously help him out, which, works because we see him flying in her copter and they get taken down to the ground and they're safe. But now I'm almost wondering if it's more of, I am helping him go through something I went through, and given what he's just been through, maybe I've gone through stuff that, like him, I've like pushed to the side and I haven't dealt with it myself. And so maybe I need to work on the things that I'm scared of too, that I've just been putting a brave face on, so to speak. And I mean, of course, with the 4 points we've made, we're not going to have an answer until we have more information about the Mighty movie or until we get a teaser or whatever. But I mean, like I said, that's just, out of this whole group, we've just thought of like 4 different possibilities, maybe more. But I mean, they're all just predictions. There's no definitive yes or no or maybe.
Pretty much, yeah.
I agree with you on that part. And I've also been wondering if we are going to see those special bond moments between Chase and Skye. I would, I would automatically assume that that would probably mean Chase maybe at least had some sort of role within Skye's backstory, and maybe Ryder and Chase happen to be together at the same time looking for another pup to join them. Or I'm also thinking of possible moments where Skye is maybe unsure of her capabilities or thinking that she can accomplish that specific task, and Chase out there ends up being the one who gives her that final bit of encouragement that she could accomplish it and she can do it. And yeah, I think that's gonna be. And this is also optional. I wouldn't mind if this was put in the movie or not, but I personally would like it a little bit more if it was included. Kind of similar to like how Ryder and Chase had a little bit of a falling out or a little argument. I'm kind of hoping we might see that a little bit as well with Chase and Skye.
I think that sounds reasonable to say so. I mean, it's one of the problems, obviously, is making this unique connection a valid story point. Like, and it's something that they have to be clear about, that this is an important point to the story. And what I mean by that is the fact that if they've obviously said, like Jennifer Doe just said this now, there's no taking this back. So now we know there has to be something in Skye's backstory that links up with Chase, and it has to be important. It can't just be something that they gloss over. Because they've said that. Like,
sorry,
no, I'm done. Actually, I was done. You can go right ahead.
All right. I was just gonna say that one of my possibilities that I thought was for this connection was that Chase was the one who was gonna find Skye in her backstory, and that's what led her to join the team.
Small but sweet, but also simple. Yeah, it works. It's not. I mean, it's like you said. They will probably do a somewhat simplistic backstory again, but at the very least, I hope it's still an enjoyable one. And well, the development is there. Like, it isn't just. It's just not. If it just. I hope it's actually important and it's not just forgotten.
I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves because we don't know if there's a backstory going to happen or not.
It's a soft confirmed. In my eyes, it's soft confirmed. Like, not 100%. It's just somewhat likely, but it's kind of likely.
Yeah,
that's the way I've been viewing it since we had that thing back in January when the cast got revealed.
Yeah, I think that is a fair point to make, and I'm trying to think of something right now. I had it in my head, but now I can't remember. So maybe, do anyone else have maybe something else to say until I remember?
I already idea of what the backstory could be. It's a little bit long, and it might just be overly complicated, so I don't think it'll be right. The idea that I had, at the very least, a simple idea, would be Skye's in an animal shelter. She's the smallest one there. Ryder and Chase go there one day, looking for a new dog to basically be friends with Chase and so he's not just on his own. And Ryder's basically looking around, and then all of a sudden he sees that crate, and then he basically sees this small pup at the back of it, pretty much. And when I'm talking small, like, I'm talking very small, and this is just an important point as well, obviously. Cockapoo puppies are tiny, like really small. I'm not saying, like, palm size, but they are pretty small. So, obviously, Skye's the smallest one in the team, obviously, right now, but her as a puppy would be so much more small. Like, I'll argue, like, half the height that she currently is what she'd be as a puppy, and that's saying something. Like, she'd be very small.
I honestly think 1/3, not even half.
Yeah, but my point being is that she would be very small.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say exactly, but like I said, her breed as a puppy is just tiny, so maybe even that is.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I got now my train of thoughts back. I was also thinking another possibility is maybe the mad scientist does something towards Chase that perhaps maybe could also push Skye to do what she has to do.
I think it's something similar to how at the end of the first movie, Chase having to save Ryder and everything, making his leap of faith. Something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's a possibility Chase might have to play the Ryder role this time in this movie.
Well, it's not even a problem if that's the case, because it would definitely make it a bit more interesting, and it wouldn't just make it a copy of how it ended in the first movie. That's how I'm looking at it, at least.
Yeah. I think we covered pretty much all the important points on the unique connection between Chase and Skye.
Yeah.
And now I believe we are on our final topic, which is our thoughts on the second plot point that got revealed, which is Liberty apparently finding the three Pomeranian pups, Nano, Tot, and Mini, and apparently taking them under her wing and basically training them inspiring them to become future young members. So Meat, I'm gonna start with you on that one. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm gonna keep it brief here. I figured that Liberty was gonna get some sort of role for this film, and I'm glad she is, but I'm starting to think over this that these three pups we're getting are just being introduced to give Liberty something to do. But like Liberty, if they're such important characters, then, which I imagine they will be, then I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again in the series based on their popularity, like Liberty as she later appeared in the series after the first movie.
I will say, based on the recent document we got, I think there is a very good possibility we might be seeing them in the future in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah. Nebula, your thoughts?
I mean, I was kind of surprised to see that we'd be getting three new pups in the Mighty movie, whoever they may have been. But part of me, and I agree with what Meat is saying, I feel like the only reason they're in this movie is just because Liberty will not be. Well, I'm not saying she won't be doing anything, but they need a plot point reason for her to actually, do something. Because I personally hope Liberty doesn't do a inspire Skye moment, because then that would just be too similar to how she inspired Chase in the first one. So I understand if they have to make her do something different, but did you really need to add three new pups, even if they're much younger, right? You add three new ones that you train. It's kind of to me it
In
comes
my
across as
honest
kind of. So, no, you can finish. You can finish.
Yeah, because I was thinking they could have very easily just added one new young pup, and I feel like that could have been enough to justify that storyline. And I was even thinking they could have genuinely just maybe even particularly now, if this is canon only to the first season, then it's not possible. But if it's not, I was thinking this was maybe also a missed opportunity to maybe give Everest something to do.
Hmm.
Considering that Everest is going to be apparently appearing in a few future Mighty Pups Paw Patrol episodes that will come out, and considering she may or may not have a 44-minute special coming from her.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
On the topic of this, and this is the thing that's driving me crazy. All right, if the whole point is that the movies are a branch off from season one, was it the Cal Bronker said? I think. Yeah. If they are branch off from season one, okay. If that's the case, fair enough. I don't like it how they're continually just trying to confuse us, even unintentionally, right? They keep confusing us by just giving us these things where, oh yeah, this whole like movie thing would make sense if Liberty just wasn't added to the series, and okay, it kind of breaks some rules, but maybe there's some different reasons. But if they make, from what we've seen in this info, that Liberty, Skye, and Nevers are getting like these pup-themed powers, like movie-themed episodes, right? Then that's just breaking the rules again, because then we know that the Mighty movie is also canon to like the series as well. It's not just like an extra thing that's happening. So I don't know if they're really thinking this through based on. And it's not like they wouldn't have even talked with Cal Brunker about this making sense. And I feel as if Cal Brunker had just made a different rule that wasn't all the movies that are a branch off from season one, then this kind of small problem, I'll admit, in the grand scheme of things, but this kind of problem wouldn't happen.
I genuinely think a lot of those problems could have been solved if maybe instead he said it was like a branch off from season 4 or 5, because that, in my opinion, would make a lot more sense, and not a branch off from season 1.
Right. To the Mighty movie stuff, I would definitely say sometime season 4 then, to make more sense with like the actual when the Mighty Pups movie takes place. Obviously, I would definitely say a branch off from season 4 then.
So, Meat, I think you already gave your thoughts on this, right?
Yeah.
Parachute Buddy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And one of my big concerns, actually, in regards to Liberty and the 3 younger pups we're going to be getting in the movie, is like you guys said, it's like, is this just going to be something for her to do? But my biggest concern actually was, are they just doing this because they can't think of a side plot for her to do? And they're just repeating what they did in the first movie, where it's like you have these pups who are inspired by the Paw Patrol. They want to be team members, even though they can't really think of a role that they'd fit. Not to say that Liberty didn't do anything, because I mean, she helped out with, not only like crowd control, but also helping them like go around Adventure City when obviously they're new to this place and they don't know their way around. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you want to do that, that's fine, but spice it up, make things a little different, so that way it's not just the same thing we've seen before, because then it's a bit boring. But at the same time, it's like, if they're going to be giving Liberty a role like this, I almost feel like they need to have her either, whether it's Adventure Bay and she's visiting the Paw Patrol, or Adventure City, I feel like she has to have and should have had more episodes dedicated to her, because yes, you can make the argument that, oh, well, she's been in at least 2 episodes of the series. Okay, but she's almost on par skill-wise with the other pups, as well as just helping out in general. And I don't see much character development from her when you put the movie and those 2 together, for her to really have this side leadership role. Because, like, compared to some of the other pups, even additional ones, like, say, Ella and Tuck, the Mighty Twins, or Rex, or Everest and Tracker, like, they've had way more development compared to her, where I feel like with Liberty, even though she has made contributions to the team, it feels more simplistic and standard. Like, anyone could do it. And I feel like she needs more development if she's going to be given this semi-leadership role, because then otherwise it just feels like a repeat of what they did with the first movie, except it's not just impactful, it doesn't make sense based on character growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think there definitely could have been and should have been something that they gave to Liberty to make her stand out a bit more as a member compared to some of the other older members that we have gotten throughout the series. Because if you actually compare her to some of the other older members, as you said, that we've gotten from the series, it really doesn't seem like she's making a much of a better contribution than those other pups have been doing.
And I hope they also do in a way where it's like it's done proper, not like done in a way where it's like they're trying to have her like, help out these young pups to be team members, but like I said, it feels like it's on repeat. I feel like they have to like make it exciting in some way.
Yeah, I agree on that part. And we were originally supposed to have one last topic about when should we expect a trailer, but considering the recent leak document that we got, I don't think we really need to discuss that.
At the very least, it gives us the idea that it's happening sometime in, well, that month. I don't want to say because I don't know if I'm unsure, but I think
Yeah, I think we are allowed to say what Bronker said in his tweet, though, that we know it's
being
coming
in the
out somewhere in summertime.
the summertime quote obviously is like it was somewhat vague, but it was still enough because at least it was because even if it was over like 3 months in a range, it was still reasonable, and I think I preferred that. It was a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I agree on that part. So, we have gone through all of our topics that we wanted to discuss in this recording. So, Parachute Buddy, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that I definitely have some hope for the movie. However, even with the voice acting they've gotten and the unfortunate leaked information and everything, and even just the simplistic, what we have in general for, just the plot that was released anyway for the public to know. I think some decisions that they're making are good, but my advice would be we should be cautious to not have high expectations, because on the one hand, it can go positive and it can be, incredible and a total surprise. But at the same time, if it doesn't meet the level of hype that some fans are having it wanting to be, or even just based on the info that we hear and then it makes us more excited, I feel like if we set our expectations too high, there's also the chance we could be disappointed with what we get. And so because of that, I think we need to be open-minded to not only changes in the movie regarding, whatever it is we get, what the characters sound like, what the story's going to be like, how the characters are, portrayed, whether they're done from one perspective or another. So, I mean, I definitely am looking forward to the movie, but I'm also looking at it with a bit of caution because, even if we do get the teaser and it gives us some answers, it's only like a cup of what we're going to get from the movie compared to, say, a gallon of information that is the movie as a whole, so to speak. So
don't forget,
yeah, so
there will very likely be.
well.
Yeah, I'm cautious as well. I think there will, don't forget also, I think a month from now, not a month from now, but a month or two before the movie comes out, I'm pretty sure there will be some book pages or covers of the movie that will potentially be leaked as well, just like the first movie. So
I'd like to
maybe
forget
this
about that.
time. Yeah, maybe this time try to steer away from those as much as possible.
unless
You
of course
probably
you're
just
someone who
jinxed it.
wants to see them. Sorry.
Right.
I was just gonna say, unless of course you're someone that wants to see them, like when it comes to the boost, and to be fair, I'll admit it's tempting especially when someone makes a video that just does the page, like shows all the pages and everything. Like the thumbnail is literally one of the most important scenes or pictures in the book as the thumbnail. It can be tempting, but there's a case to be made that this time around you want to be careful because me and Andrew here, obviously, three of us had got spoiled about the books back in 2021. Maybe not every single thing, but we had like most of the major stuff pretty much spoiled. And despite that, I still seen the movie just because I knew there was still stuff out with those that I wanted to see. But this time around, I think a fair assessment to say is we need to be more careful. We need to be more careful with what we maybe would see on YouTube or see in any Discord server. Someone could potentially post a picture, have it up for maybe a minute before one of the moderators realizes, oh wait, that should not be up. That's a complete spoiler. We can't have that. So there's a case that we just need to be careful, pretty much.
And during that time that the books do get, if we do get books, then the social media accounts really, really need to step up security so it doesn't become like widespread or anything.
Yeah, that is a time I will accept them saying, please take these images down so we don't have any legal problems. That's the time I'll accept them doing
I
that.
honestly hope they are strict about that.
Yes.
And about that subject of books, I don't think there's anything wrong if someone wants to get themselves spoiled, but I think for me personally, I would rather see the movie first and then maybe read the book pages afterwards to see if there maybe were any minor differences between the two, because I think seeing it for the first time in the movie, the big screen, without being spoiled, it makes the experience overall a lot more fun, in my opinion.
It really does.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you see it in
So-
theaters.
Oh yeah. That's an
And
experience.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a theater exclusive, I think, this time around, so that should be fun.
Hmm.
So,
I thought
Nebula.
I thought they were going to release it on streaming too.
I'm pretty sure they did say it was. I'm pretty sure it's going on Paramount Plus sometime.
After 40 days.
That's
After
what
40
I'm
days,
pretty-
it's
I
been
wanted to say
theater.
it was like almost 2 months after it's releasing is when they're putting it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So, Nebula, your final thoughts?
Okay, my final thoughts are these. When it comes, like, I'll go through the points that we've made. Obviously, when it comes to the very lackluster idea of what the backstory could be based off of, I do still have hope that it can be brought up to a really high standard of, a good story. I have my hopes for that. When it comes to the interaction or connection that Chase and Skye apparently they have, I'm giving myself a sort of, reasonably excited in terms of just what that could show. When it comes to just the general idea of the Mighty movie, I think, and the leaks as well, obviously, I think an important note is, yes, these leaks are happening. I'm still excited to see the movie. I'm just cautious when it comes to what the leaks can show nowadays. And I think I'm keeping myself reasonably excited even after all these leaks have happened. Because there is still stuff that we will learn in the Mighty movie that none of the leaks have actually showed us, which is what excites me because it's like we only see very little at a time, and the whole movie at once is going to be interesting. And this is actually just one more thing I wanted to say here. I can't verify this 100%. I only came across this on YouTube. I cannot say if it's completely true or not. It might be. I was looking on YouTube and I found that the apparent runtime of the movie is going to be about 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Wow.
I don't know how true that is. I tried. There was no comments.
In my
The comments were
opinion,
disabled.
when I saw that on YouTube, I found out that that actually came from someone on DeviantArt who actually just posted a random runtime of that length. So I
Yeah, you see,
really doubt
yes,
it is official.
yeah. Well, look, that again. There was no way for me to know because there was nothing in the comments. Like the comments were disabled, and the description was just a bunch of hashtags. And would you believe it? Not one of those hashtags was actually even DeviantArt, so I didn't even know. But
Yeah.
point being, when it comes to the runtime, though, even however long it is, I think it's going to be roughly the same, maybe just a bit longer than the first. I think my excitement for it is still there, and however long it is until the trailer, like the proper date for the trailer, I'm obviously excited for when that happens and in the months leading up when it does release. I think being reasonably excited is okay for it.
Yeah, I agree on that part. And just to mention one more thing on your point about the runtime, I did see one website that suggested the runtime will be 2 hours, but even that one I think is still possibly a bit too long, and I don't think that is fully accurate because I remember there was another website a while ago for the first movie back in 2021 where it said the runtime would be 2 hours, and that didn't turn out to be the case.
Yeah, I think an important note that people who are trying to find the runtime of the movie need to remember is the simple fact that it needs to be long enough for it to be enjoyable, but it can't be too long to where the age range that wants to go see it is getting bored because their attention span won't allow them to see something that's going to be longer than
Yeah.
maybe an hour and a half. So, yeah. That's
My
all.
predictions on what the runtime could be is either the runtime is gonna be exactly like it was for the first movie, like 88, 89 minutes, or it's going to be a little bit longer, like potentially maybe 95, 100 minutes. But
Yeah.
I don't really expect it to be much longer than that.
I hope it's longer by at least 10 to 15 minutes, considering all the plot points we're getting. You gotta develop Victoria Vance, you got the unique connection, the Skye's theme, every pup makes a big difference, and the Liberty guiding the 3 new pups. So they could be much better to do it longer. Not a significant long runtime, but just enough to be more than the first movie.
Yeah, I agree. And Meat, your final thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, I am looking forward to what Bronker and Co. have in store for us for this film. It's from the cast list, it's a more respectable list than what we had for the first film, and a good amount of talent all around, including new and returning actors from the previous movie and the series. And I am interested to see how Victoria Vance will do as the villain, with Taraji Henson possibly voicing her. And considering how good Liberty was done in the first film, I'm hoping that this will translate to the new antagonist. The leak situation I don't think will stop anytime soon. I'm hoping the trailer doesn't end up getting leaked. I probably jinxed it right there. It would probably prove to the point that the fans, well, some of them, are impatient with wanting to get the footage for the film. And I'm a little iffy on the Smallest Pup making a bigger difference theme, plus the unique connection with Chase and Skye. While the theme does focus more on the younger audience group, I'm not sure if it will have much of an impact as the first movie did with Chase's backstory and facing his fears. But I hope I'm proven wrong. The Chase and Skye unique connection is a topic that could have some complications within the fandom if not done right. If they do end up going with the Skase route, and could define the film and overshadow everything as a result. I just hope they end up executing both of these aspects well, and it at least be better than the original Mighty Pups TV movie. Just more of original story and not just a copy and paste of the Mighty Pups TV movie. Because if I had to bet, they did Mighty Pups again just to milk it out further for that good old green stuff. Plus, the movie's release date being moved up hopefully isn't a deal where it's being rushed, considering that it seems they had less time to work on this one than the first movie. The expectations will be a good hype for this film, but if it doesn't meet expectation, then people would be very disappointed in the end.
I agree with those statements. And what could you maybe say again what you thought about the Chase and Skye unique connection? Maybe because I was about to point something out.
It's a topic that could have complications if not done right. They do end up going with the Skye's route and could define the film.
One of my biggest fears about this movie is there has been this talk that a Disney show called Star versus the Forces of Evil, got ruined massively because of one particular ship that the writers wanted to focus on.
What was the ship? I'm not really familiar with that show.
Star and Marco.
The two main characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know what you're talking about. I have seen Star versus the Force of Evil. The problem was that it was sort of like a. The problem is that it was teasing this possibility, and don't get me wrong. First season. I remember watching it. I was like, hold on a minute. Do Marco and Star actually like each other? And I was thinking, okay, there was nothing confirming it. And once I watched more of the show, I realized that they both had their own separate crushes, and I was like, oh, okay, that's perfectly fine if they don't. I just didn't know for sure. But the problem with it is that they kind of just teased it and made it just, well, a bit of a bad move, because picture like this: there was all these there was more hints that suggested that they did like each other, and it wasn't just one way. Like, they did both like each other the way that they thought. And the end of season 2, Star openly says to Marco that she does like him, but season 3 she's already back with her ex-boyfriend, and she did have an ex. So, and then that just got even more messy, because one of the episodes is all about how they get stuck in some sort of magical is it called a photo booth? And they have to kiss just to get out, apparently, and everyone was losing their minds over that. And it wasn't until season 4 that officially Marco was like, oh no, I do feel that way about you, and Star's like, yeah, I know you do, and I do feel the same way. And it's like, it was the messiest way they could possibly handle it. And don't get me wrong, I thought it was still adorable, but it was the worst possible way they could handle something like that. Not even just because it was a ship, just because of the fact that it was the messiest story you could ever make. And they didn't even introduce it at the end. They introduced it, I think, 2 or 3 episodes away from the season finale. And it just left it all in shambles. And that's the problem. The problem, obviously, we don't have just the idea of, oh, this unique connection, but the fact is that I'm pretty sure by human years, the two, Chase and Skye, they're young, right? They probably don't even actually know what love is, and that's the problem. People going too far to believe.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. The oldest that they could realistically be within the movie's timeline is, in human years, 12 to 13 years old.
And that's the oldest they can be, and that's a big if, because we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryder is technically 14 in the movie, so there is a bit of a time. Ryder's 10 in the series, is 14 in the movie, so there is a bit of a skip in time. So they are I think they're technically older in the theatrical films. I think
they are, but it's still, I wouldn't say old enough to be to the point where they are allowed to do those sort of things. Because I feel like in order for that to be at least a little bit okay, they'd probably need to be at least 15 to 16 years old in human years.
Yeah, that your mid-teens is for them is even that's the only reasonable I can see with it. And the problem I see is the simple fact of how the young audience would take what's happening on screen, if you know what I mean. Like, let's all. It's just, it's. I think we're getting a little bit off topic here. The only other thing I want to say regarding this is the connection is obviously one of the biggest things that the movie has right now. It has caused a divide, and the only problem is that since we don't have much to go on, it's really just open to a lot of interpretation over what it can be, and that's scary because, well, for reasonable sake, I'm not worried, but I do still think about it. I go back and I think, oh god, what does she mean by this connection? Like, what is this connection going to be? Something very bad that could just go horribly wrong, or is it actually going to be something reasonable? There's like a little bit of panic with how she worded it, and honestly, it could come back to bite her. That's the way she said it. It could come back and haunt her in the end.
Yeah, that is the thing, because the way she implied it at the beginning, especially the way she implied it, was that there was something more going on besides just their friendship. And I think that did make some of the fandom members a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think even if they hadn't mentioned all that, I think people would have, they hadn't provided any context, I think people would have still assumed that this was going to go the shipping route with Skye.
Yeah. At least most people would, I admit that. Like, there's people who can be reasonable, and I respect that, but then there's people who just, I mentioned this earlier, go way over the top with every single little thing that they believe means something.
It's not the ship itself that's
it was
toxic.
That was really bad.
It's the people.
It's the people.
Exactly, yes.
It's not the ship, it's the people that that are shipping them in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree with those things. And my final thoughts on these things are, I personally hope that these leaks will... I hope this is the last we see of the leaks, and they're going to now be more stricter on it, and we're not going to get anything more bigger than this in terms of finding out plot points or designs for the Mighty movie. And I do hope that the actors will do a good job with voicing their characters. A lot of them seem like they're pretty good fits for their characters, but there are also some that are a bit questionable. And yeah, regarding the unique connection, I don't really worry too much about what's going to happen. My only concerns are how everyone else is going to react, and also just hoping that whatever route they go with, it ends up being written well, and it's not something that was just an afterthought or didn't really give their full attention to. Because it could get messy if that's the case.
Another thing, too, that I just thought of is that based on the synopsis we have in general for the movie, although there's so many different things that the movie needs to focus on, I also hope they don't sideline Ryder and the others, because based on the storyline we got with Humdinger getting out of jail, I mean, if the others get captured according to the official synopsis, I hope they're not, like, taking a back seat, and then Skye and the others are the only ones who get attention. That's another thing that I just thought of.
That's
I
you know
mean,
you saying that, right? That's making me think of a mix of Mighty Pups and Jet to the Rescue, because
yes.
it's
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
to me that'd be an even worse route, because it means that they're not just copying Mighty Pups, they're also copying the idea they used in Jet to the Rescue, and it's
That
it would just
is the scary thought.
Also, I feel like I'm gonna talk. Screwed up. The final confrontation, I think, between Skye and Vance is if you're the smallest pup, you gotta face against the biggest thing imaginable, a giant robot. Like how Mighty Pups
and if it's a
was.
giant robot, oh.
I personally hope that doesn't turn out to be the case, and it just ends up being an actual face-to-face with their powers and no any fancy gizmos, because I think that would probably be the best route they can go with a face-off. Just them two using their powers against each other, I think would be the best possible route.
That'd be entertaining
agreed.
as heck.
Yeah, it would be more interesting. But I swear, if I get some hint that Skye is gonna just fly away and Victoria's gonna get in this jetpack thing, right? She's gonna chase her down. I'm gonna be like, you know that scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Leonardo DiCaprio was pointing at the TV, right? I'm going to be doing that and saying, "Hey, you did that in the Mighty Pups TV movie. Why are you doing it again?"
Yeah, you pulled a Harold Humdinger right there.
Well, I mean, they're using the alliteration with a name, so I'm not surprised.
And then they'll
Harold
look up
Humdinger,
Skies of
Victoria
Space.
Vance. Can I just also point out how Victoria Vance sounds like a Marvel or a DC character?
Yeah, like Lex
Oh,
Luthor.
Yeah.
Like
Or
same,
Vicky Vale, like that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Oh yeah.
Otto Octavius.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of it comes across as like I don't mind the name, like it doesn't sound bad, but to me it doesn't come across as a mad scientist. Like when you say when do you want to, sorry, can I just say this? When I think mad scientist, I think of Dr. Octopus,
Dr. Eggman.
yes, Dr. Eggman, well, I can't say doctor, but Rick Sanchez, Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, like those are the names that I'm thinking of. I don't think Dr. Victoria Vance is gonna emanate any kind of madness, if that makes sense.
It sounds so off and misfitting.
Yeah.
I would say that sounds more like a name of just a regular supervillain rather than a mad scientist.
Yeah.
And my other final thought on Liberty guiding Nano, Tot, and Mini is I hope that this isn't just a additional plot, like you guys said, that was added to give Liberty something to do or some role of importance to do within the movie, and that there is at least some justification, and that those pops and maybe Liberty herself might actually make a pretty important contribution when it comes to the final standoff or face-off.
Yeah.
And about the trailer, what we can expect, I think we all can expect really high animation quality, some action moments that will probably blow us away, like with the first movie's trailer with Chase doing the leap of faith or Skye blowing up the cloud catcher with her helicopter and those kinds of things.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Mighty
mean,
Pups did.
Yeah.
God.
And an important thing to that, obviously, is that Cal Brunker did say. So that's an important note, though. Cal Brunker has maybe put a little bit of really high expectations for us by saying it will look better than the first. I don't doubt his ability, and also
He
Bob
made
Marlin's and
the
everyone working at
definition.
like Microst and like the script writing team. I have full faith in them. It's just he's kind of set like a lot of high expectations with saying obviously it will look better than the first and it will be more action packed. I feel like he's kind of set the bar quite high, and I'm hoping that when we go and see
It's
it, we can
risky
feel like that.
because it's risky because he has to deliver on that, or it would turn out that he set himself up for disappointment with the fans.
Pretty
Yeah, come
much.
back to bite him later.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes me worried about this being overhyped is I saw one of the Micros animation, I think, animators said that he knows that this second movie is going to be better than the first in every single sense of the way. And that is making me both excited and also skeptical and nervous.
That's a tall order if that's someone from the animation team saying that, because that's someone who's actually working on all the visuals
Yeah.
pretty much. That's a tall order.
Agreed. I
Yeah,
mean, the only thing that I can say is that, like, based on the leaks and stuff that we got, like, when you compare the merch leaks of the pups compared to the first one, they definitely look more, I want to say, realistic in color. And I mean, the first, not as detailed, but then again, it probably could be. It's just that the merch images don't show that. But then again, I mean, just because there's that difference in the look of the pups with the gear and stuff based on the leaks compared to the first movie, I mean, that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, I agree on that part.
I mean,
So,
I
yeah.
hope it is, but you never know.
Yeah. So we're done here with everything that we wanted to discuss in this video, and I guess you could say mini podcast, because we've been talking with our voice for almost 2 hours now, I believe.
Yeah,
And
I'm hoping that's cool. All I'm gonna say is that I hope you can still take that recording and actually upload it, because it'd be really gutting if you found out after recording all this that it hasn't recorded all of it, or something really stupid that could just
there is,
great,
with
I
how
just
big
jinxed
it
it.
is, there.
yeah. I'm not even that superstitious, but I agree with jinxies. No.
No, I
You
am.
already been jinxed too many times.
Considering how long we've been recording and possibly how big this audio file is going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps there is a point where one of our audio is completely cut out for like half of the video or something like that.
Personally, hope not. You obviously would hope for the best with this, because this is going to be this would be really cool.
Probably,
Yeah.
you probably fill up your entire hard drive. This audio recording could.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed having you guys here, and it was really a pleasure to talk with you all and discuss all our thoughts and opinions about the stuff we have seen so far regarding the Mighty movie. And I hope sometime in the future we could maybe do some more collabs.
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, first time doing it. Not really a live person. I'm not really sociable much, but this was fun. I'd be willing to do this again in the near future.
Yeah, DNA will continue.
Yeah, I'm totally open to it.
Glad you were able to join us as well, by the way, Parachute Buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is great.
So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this recording, and if you guys did, be sure to hit that like button down below, and if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, and please check out all of the people here who who have been in this discussion. I'll leave links to their channels and socials in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next time. Peace out.